All right, today we're going to dive into a really powerful idea about how we think, and it comes from one of the most influential figures in modern education, a guy named John Dewey. He was convinced there's a specific kind of thinking that truly unlocks learning, and honestly, it's something most of us just don't do enough. So let's get into it.
So let me ask you something. What does it actually mean to think? Is it just, that random flow of ideas, images, and daydreams that are constantly bouncing around in your head? Or is it something more? John Dewey argued there's a huge difference, and getting a handle on it can change everything.
So here's how Dewey broke it down. On one hand, you've got the stream of consciousness. It's passive, it's automatic, it's just stuff happening in your head. But on the other side, there's what he called reflective inquiry. This is totally different. It's active, it's purposeful, it's a deliberate process that we only kick into gear when we're trying to solve a real problem.
Okay, so let's explore this idea of moving beyond just random thinking. For Dewey, this wasn't just some interesting psychological observation. He saw this distinction as the absolute foundation of genuine learning, and really the cornerstone of what education should be all about.
And Dewey put it perfectly in his book, How We Think. He said that real reflective thought doesn't just happen out of nowhere. It's sparked by an actual problem, a moment of confusion, a genuine doubt. You can't just tell someone to go think. You have to give them a real puzzle that needs solving.
So we know it's sparked by a problem, but what exactly is this special kind of thinking? Let's get into his formal definition and see how he builds this out.
And here it is. Reflective thought is an active, persistent, and careful process. It's not just about having a belief. It's about digging into the evidence, the grounds that support it, and then thinking through where that belief leads. It's really about owning our conclusions, not just renting them.
And he didn't just leave it there. He actually mapped it out into 5 steps. It all starts with that felt difficulty, that, something's not right moment. Then you have to define the problem, come up with a possible solution, reason through it, and finally, and this is key, you test it. You see if it actually works. It's a journey from confusion to a tested, real conclusion.
All right, so that's the theory. Sounds pretty good, right? But what does it actually look like in the real world? What happens when you build a school not around memorizing facts, but around this very process of reflection? And wow, the contrast it's like night and day. The traditional school, it's often all about external results, right? Memorization, tests, with a teacher as the final word on everything. But Dewey's school, it's centered on the student's own growth, on active problem solving, and on a kind of natural discipline that just comes from being totally engaged in something meaningful with your peers. And this next quote from The School and Society, man, it just gets to the heart of everything. For Dewey, you couldn't separate learning from life. A textbook is just a bunch of words on a page until it helps you make sense of something you've actually seen or touched or struggled with yourself.
So in this kind of classroom, what are students doing? Well, for starters, they're doing things. They're learning by doing. They're connecting what's in the book to real-life challenges. Their teacher isn't just a lecturer, they're a guide. And maybe most importantly, their own natural curiosity is the engine driving the whole thing forward. The discipline comes from the work itself, not a poster of rules on the wall.
Now, you might be thinking, this sounds great, but it's from 100 years ago. But here's the thing. You can see the DNA of these ideas in so many modern educational practices. Let's look at a few really powerful, real-world examples that Dewey himself was championing. Take project-based learning. Dewey talked about a school where students literally built a small bungalow. Think about that. They didn't just study measurement from a worksheet. They learned it because they had to figure out how much lumber to buy. They learned planning by drawing up blueprints. The learning was a consequence of the doing. Or what about science class? Why just read about botany when you can get your hands dirty in a school garden? When you do that, you're not memorizing the life cycle of a plant, you're watching it. You're learning about soil and weather through direct personal observation. The knowledge is real because the experience is real.
And he didn't even stop at the classroom walls. His vision went out into the community. He pointed to a school in Indianapolis where the students were helping repair and build their own school facilities. So their learning wasn't just for a grade, it was making a real, tangible difference for everyone. How cool is that?
In all of this, all of it was building towards something much, much bigger. Because for Dewey, this was never just about creating better students. It was about creating better citizens. See, this is where all the puzzle pieces really snap into place. The ability to think critically, to weigh evidence, to solve messy problems. That's not just a good academic skill. For Dewey, it was absolutely essential for a democracy to even function. And this quote from Schools of Tomorrow, wow, it just hits you. It really drives home what's at stake. Because if all you teach kids to do is follow orders and repeat information, you're not creating citizens, you're creating subjects. And a healthy democracy needs citizens with the confidence to think for themselves.
And that really leaves us with a big question for today, doesn't it? 100 years after Dewey laid all this out, what would actually happen if we put this kind of reflection at the very center of education? How might that change not just our schools, but our society as a whole?